The sun had barely risen over Forest Lawn Memorial Park when groundskeeper Marcus Chen noticed something strange. After 15 years of maintaining the grounds near the Great Mausoleum, he thought he knew every inch of the property. But that morning, a small brass plaque embedded in the marble floor caught his eye. It was positioned in a corridor he walked through daily, yet he'd never seen it before. The plaque bore no name, only a symbol, a single white glove etched into the metal. His hands trembled as he knelt down to examine it closer. The glove design was unmistakable. Marcus pulled out his phone and snapped a photo, his mind racing with possibilities. He'd heard the rumors for years, whispered among staff members during late shifts. Stories about how the King of Pop's final resting place wasn't what the world believed it to be. Most dismissed these tales as conspiracy theories, the same kind that claimed Elvis was still alive or that Tupac faked his death. But Marcus had always sensed there was something different about this place. The mausoleum held secrets in its shadows, and this plaque might be the key to unlocking them. He decided to investigate further, knowing that what he might discover could change everything the public thought they knew about Michael Jackson's death and burial. The weight of this potential revelation pressed down on his shoulders as he made a decision that would alter his life forever. He would dig deeper, literally and figuratively, into the mystery that lay beneath his feet. Marcus returned that night armed with blueprints he'd obtained from the administrative office. He told the security guard he needed to check on a potential water leak, a believable excuse given the recent storms. The mausoleum was eerily quiet, with only the soft hum of climate control systems breaking the silence. Using the blueprints as his guide, Marcus discovered something shocking. The plaque marked the entrance to a space that didn't appear on any official floor plan. It was a hidden chamber, roughly 10 feet below the main level. His heart pounded as he examined the mechanism. The brass plaque wasn't just decorative, it was a lock. He pressed it gently, and a section of the marble floor shifted with mechanical whisper. A narrow staircase descended into darkness below. Marcus hesitated. Every instinct told him to stop, to walk away and forget what he'd found. But curiosity burned through his caution like wildfire. He pulled out his flashlight and began his descent. The stairs led to a small, climate-controlled vault unlike anything he'd ever seen. The walls were lined with memorabilia, costumes, awards, and photographs that documented a life lived in the spotlight. But the center of the room held something far more profound. A sealed vault made of reinforced glass stood illuminated by soft lighting. Inside, Marcus could see what appeared to be a cryogenic chamber. His breath caught in his throat. The technology was advanced, far beyond anything he'd expected to find in a cemetery. Documents in a sealed container next to the chamber told an incredible story. Michael Jackson hadn't been buried in the traditional sense. His family had made arrangements for cryogenic preservation, hoping that future medical advances might one day reverse the effect of his cardiac arrest. The documents Marcus found told a story that rewrote everything. According to the papers, signed by family members and medical professionals, Michael Jackson's cardiac arrest on June 25, 2009, had left him in a state that existing medical science couldn't reverse. But his family refused to accept defeat. They consulted with cutting-edge researchers who suggested an alternative: preserve his body through cryogenic suspension until technology advanced enough to potentially revive him. The plan had been executed with extraordinary secrecy. Only a handful of people knew the truth. The public funeral, the golden casket, the emotional tributes, all of it had been real in its grief but not in its finality. The casket that millions watched being carried into Forest Lawn contained only personal items and a symbolic representation. Meanwhile, in this hidden chamber, the actual preservation had taken place under cover of darkness. Marcus photographed the documents with shaking hands. Letters from family members expressed their desperate hope. Katherine Jackson had written about her faith that God would provide a miracle through science. Janet Jackson's letter spoke of the unbearable pain of watching her brother's genius silenced too soon. The papers revealed that substantial portions of the estate's earnings had been secretly funneled into maintaining the cryogenic system and funding research into revival technology. The financial record showed millions of dollars spent annually on equipment maintenance, security, and payments to a team of scientists who monitored the preservation process. Marcus realized he was holding evidence of one of the greatest secrets in entertainment history. The question now wasn't just what he'd found. It was what he should do with this knowledge. Going public would shock the world, but it would also betray the family's deeply private wishes. Marcus spent 3 sleepless nights wrestling with his conscience. The documents explicitly stated that the family intended to reveal the truth only if revival became possible, or after 50 years had passed, whichever came first. He'd stumbled into a secret that wasn't meant to be discovered for decades. The weight of this knowledge crushed him. On one hand, the public had a right to know. Millions of fans had mourned, visited the memorial, and paid their respects to what they believed was Michael Jackson's final resting place. They'd been living with what some might call a lie. On the other hand, Marcus understood grief. He'd lost his own father years ago and knew the desperate lengths people go to when facing unbearable loss. The Jackson family had chosen hope over acceptance, science over tradition. Who was he to judge that choice? He researched cryogenic preservation obsessively. Experts were divided. Some believed revival might be possible within 50 years as nanotechnology and cellular repair advanced. Others called it impossible, a fantasy that gave false hope to grieving families. Marcus returned to the chamber twice more, each visit deepening his internal conflict. He noticed details he'd missed before, a monitoring system showing stable preservation readings, a logbook recording daily checks by someone signing only with initials, and a small music player set on infinite loop, quietly playing Heal the World into the chamber. That detail broke something inside him. Even in this strange technological limbo, music surrounded the king of pop. It felt both beautiful and heartbreaking. Marcus finally made his decision. He would document everything but seal his evidence in a safety deposit box with instructions to release it only under specific circumstances. If the family went public themselves, if the preservation was ever compromised, or if he passed away without the truth being revealed. 10 years later, everything changed. A narrow-eyed Marcus received an unexpected phone call from an attorney representing the Jackson estate. They knew what he'd discovered. The security footage he'd never considered had recorded his visits to the chamber. But they hadn't come to threaten him. They'd come with news. Medical science had made breakthrough advances in cellular repair and neural regeneration. The team monitoring Michael's preservation had determined that revival might actually be possible. The family faced an agonizing decision. They could attempt the procedure, risking failure and public spectacle, or they could continue waiting as technology improved further. But the preservation equipment was aging, and maintaining the secret was becoming increasingly difficult. The attorney asked Marcus to join a small group being assembled to witness whatever happened next. His discretion over the years had earned him their trust. 2 months later, Marcus stood in that hidden chamber alongside family members, doctors, and scientists. The atmosphere crackled with tension and hope in equal measure. The revival process took 18 hours. Marcus watched his medical teams work with precision, using techniques that seemed like science fiction. Nanobots repaired cellular damage, advanced drugs stimulated neural pathways, and monitoring equipment tracked thousands of biological markers. When Michael Jackson's eyes finally opened, the room fell silent. He looked confused, disoriented, struggling to process where he was and what had happened. His first whispered words were, "Did it work?" Janet Jackson collapsed in tears. The answer was yes, but the reality was complex. Michael had awakened to a world that had changed dramatically. Technology, culture, music, everything had evolved during his suspension. The family now faced new questions about how to reintegrate him into life, and whether to reveal the truth to a world that had mourned and moved on. Marcus knew one thing with certainty. The story he discovered would reshape history. The king of pop had returned, and nothing would ever be the same.